It's easier here.
It's easier here, so we don't want to fall off. It would be like a trap. Alright, man. 1, 2.
Welcome everyone. Patricios. Bienvenidos todos. My name is Catherine John, and I am the secretary of the San Francisco Irish Mexican Association. Woohoo! And I'd like to acknowledge that we are here today on Ohlone land to celebrate and commemorate the historical St. Patrick's Battalion and to celebrate centuries-old ties between Irish and Mexican cultures. Thank you to the Irish Pipers Band of San Francisco for bringing in this wonderful celebration. Woo! We'll continue with more music and dancing, some special greetings directly from Mexico and Ireland, and a visit from the Honorable Consul General of Mexico and Ireland at the end of our event. Today's event will culminate with a talk. We've had a change in the lineup. Unfortunately, Roxanne Dunbar-Ortiz could not join us today. Instead, we will have a talk by Mark Day from San Diego. He's the producer of the 1996 documentary, The San Patricios. Highly recommend it. So that will be interesting and scintillating, and it will be in the St. Francis room at 5 p.m. But up until then, we'll be here on stage with lots of music and festivities, and the bar is open. The taco truck is open. Please enjoy the rest of the afternoon. And we'll begin with the program. Now, to give some context to who we're honoring today and what we're celebrating, I'd like to share a bit of the history of the St. Patrick's Battalion. The Dowling Library has a number of resources on the subject. It's not a story that's commonly taught in American school history classes, but there is a wealth of writing on the subject, and you are invited to go just around the corner to 45th Avenue to the Dowling Library. It's open today for you to peruse, and there are a number of San Patricios materials out on the table at the library, so you're very welcome to check them out. In 1846, Irish conscripted soldiers in the American Army were deployed to the Mexican border to fight in the Mexican-American War, known in Mexico as the War of Interventions. The U.S. had annexed Texas, but American settlers were not following the rules set out by Mexico. Become Catholic, speak Spanish, and don't own slaves. The war broke out over dispute about where the Mexico-Texas border lay. Irish soldiers were treated as the lowest of the low in the U.S. Army. Because of their nationality and their religion, they could not reach high ranks in the military. Only Protestant services were held in Army encampments. However, the soldiers were eventually allowed to cross the river and cross the border into Mexico to attend Catholic Mass. It was at Mass that soldiers like John Riley, a native of Clifton in County Galway, realized that the Irish had more in common with Mexicans than with their American adopted country. Irish and Mexicans shared values such as family togetherness, religion, and ritual, and festivities such as music and dance. Be not deceived by the prejudice of a nation that is at war with Mexico. For a more hospitable and friendlier people than the Mexicans, there exists not on the face of the earth, quoth Riley. John Riley went on to recruit Irish soldiers, along with others of various immigrant nationalities and some Americans, to desert the U.S. Army to fight for Mexico. They were known as the St. Patrick's Battalion, or the Batallón de San Patricio. The St. Patrick's Battalion fought valiantly in Mexico's defense against the intervening colonial power, right up until the siege of Chapultepec Castle in Mexico City on August 20th, 1847, when Mexican forces finally were forced to surrender. Many of the San Patricio soldiers were executed for desertion on September 12, 1847. Today is the anniversary of that tragedy. Those who switched sides before the official declaration of war were branded on the face with a D for deserter. In John Riley's case, he was branded twice, once on each cheek, since the first brand was mistakenly applied upside down. On February 2nd, 1848, the Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo was signed, ceding 55% of Mexican territory to the U.S., including present-day Texas, Colorado, New Mexico, Arizona, Utah, Nevada, and California, including the land on which we stand today, which we must remember originally was and still is Ohlone land. The values of the San Patricio soldiers remain an inspiration to us all today. They fought for what they believed in and defended a people with whom they felt a cultural and spiritual connection. Here in California, we see a centuries-long history of a simpatico between Irish and Mexican immigrants and their Irish-American and Mexican-American sons and daughters, including our many community members who have a shared heritage of both cultures. Today we honor the San Patricio's legacy and celebrate the fortitude of Irish-Mexican connections in Ireland, Mexico, California, and around the world. Welcome once again, and thank you for being here. And with this, I'd like to present my colleague and mentor, President Emeritus of the San Francisco Irish-Mexican Association, Patrick Goggins.
Taking the picture. Can't read the banner. One more.
First thing on the agenda is to break the rules of the pretty girl. And Catherine, thank you so very much. I'm just going to tell a little bit of the chronology of the Irish-Mexican Association. And the context, picking up from Catherine's intro, is that the two defining moments for Ireland and Mexico occurred at the same time. And that was the famine and the war with the United States. Ireland, as we know, lost virtually half of its population eventually. Mexico lost a little more than half of its territory and an awful lot of people in the war. So the context of the Irish-Mexican Association came about when the history of immigration peaked in the 70s with ferocious anti-immigrant activity, as those of you who were old enough to be around at the time will recall. And at that time, for example, there was a politician in Marin County where I live who originated a state proposition, Proposition 187, which would have deprived all of the immigrants and all of the undocumented and all of the in-between categories of services, of medical services, for example. Can you imagine what it would be like if we'd have a law like that right now, where you wouldn't be able to vaccinate, you wouldn't be able to provide the services for a huge part of our population? But this was a draconian attack on immigrants, particularly on the Spanish-speaking migrants from Mexico who were coming in great numbers. And because of that activity, you had demonstrations throughout the land, particularly in California and the other border states. So our Irish-Mexican Association started in Marin with a woman named Patricia Garcia. And Patty Garcia's birthday was March 17. She's in the labor movement. And Marin County never had a mission district. It wasn't compact, large enough. But the beginnings of a kind of a section of Marin County called the Canal District. You know, it actually has a lot of the feeling of the mission district, was being impacted with the immigrants coming in great numbers and living together to take the jobs that the Marin County people were offering. And so you had day laborers standing out in groups of 50 or 100 in several different corners, and you had, you know, the people who supported that Prop 187, they often lived in Marin, coming out and preaching against them. And so Patty Garcia and I, because of her birthday and St. Patrick's Day, we would always get together with a few Irish and Mexicans. And it was just, you know, an ad hoc get together to celebrate our commonality and our recognition that the Irish were the immigrants of the century before, and that currently the Mexicans were the main target for, you know, the immigration, anti-immigration. So that's where it started. But the first event we had in San Francisco, interestingly enough, was here in the United Irish Cultural Center, and it was a panel that we put together with Father Michael Healy and Father Jerry O'Rourke, and with lawyers Jim Byrne and Bart Murphy, and with medical people, Dr. Frank Parnell, Claudio Callahan, who worked with the elderly, and Marie Wren, who worked with the service groups for the ill. And it was a panel discussion for solidarity with immigrants in general and with the Irish and the Mexicans right here in this place. But the idea of an Irish-Mexican association exploded. And we had all kinds of people wanting to come and speak and provide venues and provide entertainment and so forth. And one of the early ones was Sean Prendeville, local noted popular historian, introduced me and Patty Garcia and the rest of us to Mark Day, who was just finishing his documentary. And we went ahead, and Jack Ortega, who was the first lobbyist for Cesar Chavez in Sacramento, a friend in the East Bay, introduced us to Marco Gonzalez, who had a Hispanic military history preservation society. And he had the uniforms and muskets and all of the authentic equipment to put together a Mexican army of, you know, reenactors. And he would go into the film business. For instance, he was in Mishner's 4-week series on Texas on television and so forth. So he would provide for the film industry a Mexican army. So we invited him to come into the St. Patrick's Day parade and then the Cinco de Mayo parade with the San Patricio Battalion. And it was so different, it was new, but we were welcomed by Gary Philpott and the other people who were running the parades. And we took second place in marching and second place with the antique car, where we honored Chris Matthews, who wrote the play, A Flag to Fly, about the San Patricios. And we honored Marco Gonzalez, and also the Central Latino person, who's the Central?
Chuck Ayala.
Chuck Ayala. Thank you very
May
much.
he rest in peace.
R.I.P. Great man. Became my partner. And so we then went into the parade the following year, and of course we had a lot more action and a lot more preparation, so we won first place in marching. And first place in the antique car. And we were honoring then Patrick Butch Hallinan, who was an anthropologist deeply involved with Mexican heritage as well as practicing law. And Gloria Bonilla, who was also with Central Latino, with Chacaela in the Mission District. No, they serve 40,000 meals to the elderly every year. And originally, the service was originally when there were quite a few Irish in the mission. There are some now, of course, but at that time it was different. So what we did when we honored Chacaela for his work and Gloria Bonilla for their work in the mission is we came up with the concept of having a fiesta as well as the parades and get-togethers afterwards. We started out with what we call pachanga cracks, and we did our first one in a Cafe Andorra out in the Mission District, honoring Juan Pifare. Juan Pifare was the editor of a Spanish language magazine in town here called Horizontes. It was a newspaper type. And he was really high on our program, took a lot of pictures, and was the first to write about us in the papers. So we had the first Pachanga crack, just a social mixer. And then the second one in Kate O'Brien's on Mission Street, down near the Moscone Square area in St. Patrick's Cathedral and so forth, church. So we blossomed and matured into having several events on examining the Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo. And we did the first one at Dominican College, now Dominican University in Marin, and that was where young David Vela hosted us and became a staunch Irish-Mexican person, more or less succeeding me as the chair of the Irish-Mexican Association eventually. And of course, he has now been pretty much succeeded by Catherine John, wonderfully. So at any rate, we had another one at the Garment Workers Union on Mission Street in San Francisco, where we had the establishment come forward, the supervisor Jose Medina, and lots of other officials to discuss the ramifications of the Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo as it was originally set up. It was biased against the Mexicans. We lost the war, and that frequently happens in treaties after wars, as we know. And so we actually sent some of the scholars to visit the Congress people to see if they wanted to have action in Congress to re-examine the Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo. And that got buried in politics, but it was a consciousness raising that was very worthwhile. Now, as you probably know, the first book on the San Patricios was written by a Mexican woman, Patricia Bustamante Cox. She's Mexican-Irish. And it was a novel, and it didn't get circulated in the United States. There was another novel written by an Irishman that didn't really get circulated much of anywhere. I could never find a copy. But the first treatment in English that did reach us was the play by aforementioned Chris Matthews. Chris Matthews, Irish-American from Jersey, Green Beret, appointed supervisor in Santa Cruz County by Jerry Brown, and owner of The Poet and the Patriot, himself being a true poet and a patriot. He wrote the play, the definitive play, A Flag to Fly. And that was about the San Patricios who were hung. Now, sometime when I'm in the Mill Valley Library or someplace, I will give a talk that'll go through step by step, but you've already had a good lead here from Catherine that after the war, when the United States vanquished Mexico, they hung those San Patricios who had deserted and fought for Mexico. They hung 50 of them. They hung 16 in San Jacinto Plaza, a suburb of Mexico City. And there's a wonderful monument on the wall there. And we took 16 Irish-Mexican Association people down to Mexico City to be a part of the 150th anniversary of that hanging, with the President Zedillo of Mexico and Sean O'Higgin, the ambassador from Ireland, with us. We represented the spirit of the San Patricios because that's what they do every year in Mexico City and several places across Mexico. They honor the only Europeans who came to help rather than to conquer. And that's in their history books quite a bit. So when we went down there, we took with us, I thought it was kind of cute when we marched our San Patricio units in the St. Patrick's Day parades, we put in some immigration lawyers and as our Irish addition to the contingent. So that was Jim Byrne, Jim Mayock, who is here, who's fantastic with us going on that jaunt to Mexico, and also David Strand and a couple others. So we made our presence known in Mexico City on several occasions. We were invited to an art exhibit in Los Angeles with Patricia Ziff, who wrote a book called Distant Relations, all the distant relations of the Irish and the Mexicans. And we had an Irish artist exhibiting there in Santa Monica at their museum, as well as a Mexican artist. And so we did go to the border, and wrap this up with a little bit of that. We went on a fact-finding trip. It's like the Irish Forum went on a fact-finding trip to Ireland, but we went on a fact-finding trip to our Mexican-California border, and the Border Patrol gave us one heck of a demonstration, showing us at nighttime the lights of seeing the people coming over and trying to get over the fence, and all of their quick action on Operation Gatekeeper. And then we went to all the civil rights people, and Mark Day was our main guide in all of this. We went to the civil rights people who showed us where the people coming across would die in the desert, and they had the makeshift crosses with a huge cemetery for them, and the places where there were abuses and crime and the coyotes and so forth. So we did a lot of serious substantive approaching of the Irish-Mexican, always with our mind on the fact that we are in this together as immigrants and as people who share the commonalities of culture and religion. And I'll just mention Shamrock of the Sword was the first book that became popular with a lot of us. It was published in '89, and Robert Roybal Miller taught over at Hayward, University of California, State University there.
It's on display in the Dowling Library,
And it's in the library, thank you very much.
along with Distant Relations.
Yeah, and so he wrote a very balanced book. Then 10 years later, 1998, Michael Hogan wrote The Irish Soldiers of Mexico. Now, Michael Hogan is a practicing Catholic living in Mexico, and so he did emphasize a lot the spirituality and the Catholicism. So you have a maybe bias, but also an awful lot of substantive information. So these are the two books that I would recommend that you get from the library or whatever. And when we went on that fact-finding trip to the border, we closed it. It was on St. John the Baptist Day, and Mark Day took us across the border to the Tijuana Cemetery. And we went to a fabulous event. Now, we had several up here, Dia de los Muertos, procession participation, and with the altars, in several places. But this was like one of those movies where you see, the super magical realism and super realism of the Mexican culture. Because there was a soldier, his name was Juan, and I don't know his last name, because he's called Johnny the Soldier, Juan Soldado, the patron saint of immigrants. And he was accused by a captain of the military of accosting a young lady, and everyone knew that he was innocent. That's the general, the general consensus of the writings on this. But they gave him the run for the arrow. They gave him a chance to escape back across the border where he had illegally gone to and been captured. And they were going to let him run and be free. And the idea was that, if he didn't make it, because they had their soldiers with rifles, it would prove, like they would do in Africa with the tribes, it would prove, that he was guilty if they caught him and shot him, which they did. And so the monument that's built up on the hill in the Tijuana Cemetery is on the top, and it's to Juan Soldado. And on St. John the Baptist Day, every year, you get dozens and dozens of bandas coming from all over Mexico, norteños and bandas and whatever, and they're marching in amongst all the headstones, and with their children, the grandparents, and they're crying and they're praying to their patron saint of the immigrants, Juan Soldado. So we have a lot in common with our feelings, our spiritual feelings with the Mexicans, and this is just marvelous to be here with you. And I'll see how long I can hang around with the Guinness and enjoy the music and the other speakers. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Patrick Goggins, President Emeritus of the San Francisco Irish-Mexican Association. Just goes to show that those of an Irish and Mexican persuasion, let's say, have been doing good acts here in the Bay Area since the 1980s, that San Francisco has continued that legacy of those San Patricio values for a very long time, and thanks in no small part to Pat and Uta Goggins. And thanks to them, I think we all agree, we're here today having this wonderful event. Next on our program is some special video greetings from Clifton, County Galway, Ireland, and Mexico City. And I'll ask my colleague Anne Cassidy-Carew up to share a little bit about the significance of Clifton.
Hello and good afternoon, I should say. My name is Anne Cassidy-Carew. I am the former president of the United Irish Cultural Center. I am so excited and thrilled to be in this collaboration with Catherine John and the San Francisco Irish-Mexican Association. We're having some technical problems because, thank God for the young ones and Mark. We had a video sent from Clifton, and so I decided, I met a fella, his name is Noel Laffey, and is sitting here to meet this afternoon, that maybe he could be the person from Clifton because he was born and raised right outside of Clifton. He has a few minutes to come on up instead of trying to play this video. We have somebody live, right here. Come on up, Noel, and give us just his family, well, I'm gonna let him tell you. And then after that, we'll have the live feed from Mexico City. So give Noel a big round of applause, and thank you, Noel.
Thank you. Welcome, everybody. I didn't expect to be up here. My name is Noel Laffey. I'm from Clifton, outside Clifton, actually, village of Cleggan. My mother was an O'Reilly from Claddock, which is just outside Clifton. My grandfather was from. So I've been following the San Patricios for years. I know about the commemoration in Clifton in 1993. Actually, I have a video on my phone where they commemorated the Mexican ambassador who went back to Clifton, and they unveiled a plaque in Clifton to John Riley. And later on, they unveiled a monument in Clifton from the Mexican people to John Riley. So I follow up on it. I watched the video, the Mark Day video. I don't know anything about DNA or anything else, so but all I know, I'm an O'Reilly. There's not many O'Reillys in the Clifton area. So that's about all I know. When I seen this event, I said I'm going to show up. I was talking to Mark yesterday, and he passed along the information. So that's all I have. I know Pat from the Men's Shed on Monday nights, and we had a chat about it a few months ago. But welcome everybody, enjoy it, and from Clifton, I mean, I don't know what's on the video, but I mean, I'm sure they're happy to send their regards and everything else, and thank you.
See, once he told me he was from Clifton, I was like, oh, that's the real thing. So, Mark is now going to direct you to this TV over here, and it's about a 10-minute video. So if y'all can, you might have to change spots and watch this lovely video from Mexico City.
Hello everybody, my name is Stephen Murray. I'm the Grand Master of the illustrious Order of St. Patrick here in Mexico. We're in the Plaza de San Jacinto, where the Irish prisoners of the American Intervention Army in 1847 were kept here on the day of the Niños Héroes in the Castillo de Chapultepec, in the Chapultepec Castle, here in the center of the city. On the day when the Chapultepec Castle was finally taken over by the American army, and in that moment the Irish prisoners, most of them anyway, were executed here in this square in September 1847. We send most sincere salutations to our friends, the Mexicans in San Francisco, to the Irish community as well there. We're here doing some taping of music with the band of Mexico City. The bagpipers and drummers of the band are all here as well. They send you best wishes, and I personally as well send you the warmest of hugs, very best wishes for September, and see you soon. Take good care. Bye-bye.
Right. Wait. Back.
As Pat mentioned in his speech, the place that they recorded that was the bust, the statue of John Riley, on the Plaza San Jacinto in San Angel, Mexico City, which was the very site that the San Patricios soldiers were executed. So lots of gravitas there, and very, very special that they were able to offer us that video greeting from the John Riley Memorial in Mexico City that Pat visited with the Irish Forum. We would have had a similar greeting from the bust of John Riley in Clifton, but we had a San Patricio in the flesh in the form of Noel, so we're very grateful for that today. Okay, this next part of our program is going to be a nice lineup of some cultural performances from both Irish and Mexican artistic traditions. And this part's very near and dear to my heart because in addition to secretary of the association, I myself am an Irish-Mexican musician. I spent several years of my life living in Ireland and Mexico, and in Mexico I played in Celtic music sessions, and I played St. Patrick's Day gigs and pubs, and then I went over to Limerick in Dublin and joined Mariachi San Patricio, the very first mariachi band in Ireland. I'm very, very proud of what I've done with Irish and Mexican music. So before we bring up our first performers, which are the Irish dance schools, in just a few moments, I would just like to share a little bit of my music for your pleasure. All right, here we go. Guadalajara, 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 Guadalajara. Tienes el alma de provinciana, hueles a limpia rosa temprana. Guadalajara, frente del río, son mi paloma, su caserío. Guadalajara, Guadalajara, hueles a pura tierra mojada. De San Francisco para el mundo, sí señor. Ay, 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 ay. Guadalajara hermosa. Quiero decirte una cosa. Tú que conservas agua del pozo y tus mujeres lo más hermoso. Guadalajara, Guadalajara, tienes el alma más mexicana. No te rajes, Irlanda. Sí, señor. Shiru amoy, Shiru amoy, Shiru amoy, she had it American. Shiru amoy, a while with Boris, where she pushed a water for Sherigan. Marching to Boston, had it American. Tyson no closer, my posture go all these values and Carrigan. Shiru amoy, Shiru amoy, Shiru amoy, she had it American. Shiru amoy, a while with Boris, where she pushed a water for Sherigan. Ay, ay, ay. Ay, ay, ay. Ay, ay, ay. Ay, ay, Irish-Mexican artist. I made a CD a few years ago called Fandango Bra, over here for sale. Thank you, ma'am. And just so excited to be here today, bringing together Irish and Mexican cultures, especially the arts, especially Irish music and dance. We're so excited to start out our cultural program for the day with the Noreen Boyle Irish Dance Academy. Give them a hand.
I just want to do a little introduction of all the dancers. We have Emma, Olivia, Palmer, Sammy, and Allie. Take a bow, girl. And then behind them we have another Olivia, Claire, Hannah, and Mary Kate. Thank you, thank you. Always amazing, lovely, awesome. Thank you. Noreen Boyle at Academy School. I went to high school with her. Isn't it such a small world? Now we have the Michael Dillon Dance Academy dancers up for us next. And let's just keep the show going. I could sing a song, but y'all would leave, so we'll just chat with a few minutes with each other and call it a day, right?
Hello. We are from the Michael Dillon School Artians. We have the two Pecco brothers, Aiden Pecco and Shane Pecco.
No, both stores are yeah. They're just combining this with dance. Yeah. Yeah, they can come on up here. We'll see.
thank you, Dillon and Boyle Schools of Irish Dance from right here in the Bay Area. Wonderful. Okay, next we're going to have some Mexican dancers. I'm going to share a little bit more of my music as well. Down on the ground is fine. And if Pat Goggins is in the house, we'd like to invite him up to share a few more words. If now's a good time. Now's probably a good time now. All right, Pat Goggins again.
I wanted to confess that I'm the embodiment of the Irish Mexican by virtue of our daughter Kathy marrying Paul Rendon. Paul Rendon is here with our grandson, our Irish Mexican grandson, Dominic Rendon, Dominic Goggins Rendon. And he's the man on the camera, and so they're shooting a lot of our activities today. And it also happens to be Dominic's 20th birthday. And so I was going to ask Catherine if she would do the Las Mañanitas Mexican version of Happy Birthday for him. But before I relinquish the mic for that warm activity, I want to say that I interrupted my earlier talk because I got a little emotional. Today being the 12th, this is the day that they hung the 30 San Patricios at the time of the last battle, and it being, you know, the day after the 11th, we know that we're still suffering from the wars of different peoples, and that's something that strikes me, that we're having this event on the anniversary of the hanging of the San Patricios, who, you know, they deserted for various reasons. 29 of them claimed drunkenness because they knew that the military was used to people deserting for drunkenness and they might get off with a light sentence. And quite a few of them did not get hung because of their plea. Only one pled guilty to deserting for love. And they're all reluctant to plead guilty for accepting the offers of land and so forth from the Mexican government. But the overriding issue was the mistreatment of Irish Catholic soldiers in the U.S. military at that time. After all, they had left Boston and New York to join the Army to get paid $7 a month because there was a no Irish need apply sign everywhere else. So you did have an anti-Irish Catholic milieu at the time. So I'm trying to mix and be Irish and Mexican and mix happiness and sadness at the same time. So let's surpass the sadness of remembering all of them and all that suffered currently in Afghanistan and the Twin Towers. And let's go to the happiness of a happy birthday song for the new people coming up. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Pat. Pat mentioned it's Dominic Rendon's birthday here, 20 years old. We have another birthday in the house tomorrow, Alfonso, also 20 years old, I think. Yeah, 20 years old. Sure. So let's all join in. Estas son las mañanitas que cantaba el rey David. Hoy por ser día de tu santo te las cantamos a ti. Despierten, amigos, despierten, mira que ya los pajarillos cantan, la luna ya se metió. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Dominic and Alfonso. And anyone else have a birthday? Happy birthday to you. What a special day to have a birthday. I'm Patricios Day. Next on our program is the Grupo Danza Colibri. If someone could pop into the St. Francis room and let them know to get on deck, please. And since I have your attention, I'll give you another one of my Irish-Mexican mashups. What did I have? Said the fine old woman. What did I have? This fine old woman did say I had 4 green fields. Each one was a jewel, but strangers came and tried to take it from me. I had 5 strong sons who fought to save my jewels. They fought and they died, and that was my grief, said she. What have I now? Said the fine old woman. What have I now? This proud old woman did say, I have 4 green fields. One of them's in bondage, and strangers' hands who tried to take it from me. But my sons, they had songs as great as were their fathers, and my 4 green fields will bloom once again, said she. 4,000 pastan solo han quedado del ranchito que era mío. Ay, 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 ay. De aquella casita tan blanca y bonita, lo triste que está. Los potreros están sin ganado. La laguna se secó. Ay, 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 ay. La cerca de alambre que estaba en el patio también se cayó. Me prestarás tus ojos, morena, lo ciego en el alma que vivo yo. Los despojos de aquella casita tan blanca y bonita, lo triste que está. Thank you. That was the 4 green fields and las 4 milpas. All right, now we're really excited to bring up Grupo Danza Colibri from Redwood City. Their director, teacher, Marta Magdalena Celi, is here today with her group. When I first met them, they were a bunch of little muchachos, and now they're big muchachos. And we're really, really excited to have them today. So please enjoy Grupo Danza Colibri. Okay, even better, we have two groups actually. We have Son de la Bahia here on the instruments. Actually, it's all kind of blending together, as you can kind of start to see behind me. Grupo Danza Colibri is going to be dancing. Son de la Bahia is going to be playing instruments and singing, but really in the traditional Mexican music of Veracruz, which is the Gulf of Mexico eastern seaboard. Dance and music go together, as they do in Ireland. But today we're really bringing them together and mashing them up. So we have Son de la Bahia, who are community members who enjoy traditional Mexican son de Veracruz from all over the Bay Area, and Grupo Danza Colibri. So it's going to be a nice long set for you all.
muy contentos de acompañarnos esta tarde ya, celebrando el aniversario del batallón de San Patricio. Este es Grupo Danza Colibrí de la maestra Marta Magdalena Celis. Y vamos a tocar otro son, son sones de Veracruz, del Golfo de México. Y el que se acaba de pasar se llama Pájaro Q y este se llama Morena. Este es un son de montón, se baila normalmente puras mujeres, pero si alguien quiere bailar abajo, yo no sé si Catherine está permitido, pero zapatín abajo, pero bueno. La Morena para ustedes.
En inglés, por favor.
Yes, Isidro can speak. He's very bilingual. That he just chose Spanish. So we are they're the Danza Colibrí, Grupo Danza Colibrí, and headed by Marta and Isidro. Thank you, Isidro. And me and Jenny are just joining them for the day. At Son de la Bahia, and we just played a song called Pájaro Q, and we're about to play another song called Morena, which is dedicated to all the dark-skinned women.
with a beautiful son jarocho. Thank you, Son de la Bahia, Danza Colibri. I have a quick announcement to make, which is just that the Dowling Library is going to be open till 4, so you've got a little bit more than an hour to pop into the library if you'd like to. Also, the library has a few books for sale here on the merch table. Distant Relations, one of the Irish-Mexican books that Pat mentioned. And the other one is Irish Californians, so books for sale. I wanted to say a couple other words about these groups. This is not the first time that these combined groups have participated in an Irish-Mexican fusion type of collaboration. Both of these groups, Son de la Bahia and Grupo Danza Colibri, that's part of the music, put on a wonderful St. Patrick's Day event a few years ago at La Peña Cultural Center and the Starry Plow over in Berkeley. I'm sure you know those are right next door to each other on Shattuck Avenue. So they brought together Irish and Mexican music in a really wonderful way a couple of years ago on St. Patrick's Day. It was choosing that they were all in green. It was great. Son de la Bahia has also come over and participated in cross-cultural collaborations in Fairfax as part of the Fairfax Festival of Irish Music and Dance on multiple occasions, bringing together Irish and Mexican music and dance. Isidro recorded on my album, Fandango Bra. He's a talented poet and did some spoken word tracks on my album. And Jenny has a hidden talent as an Irish step dancer, but too bad she's not wearing her shoes today. So these two groups have a long history of supporting Irish-Mexican artistic collaborations here in the Bay Area. And any other words you guys would like to share before the next song? Okay, all right. Grupo Danza Colibri en Son de la Bahia.
un mundo ideal, oh wait, I'm sorry, I'm supposed to say it. So a special plug for our colas. And in an ideal world, there would be more colas, but we've got one really tough one. So.
Normalmente el son del collage se baila tradicionalmente con un hombre en medio de la tarima y 4 mujeres en las esquinas. Pero aquí le tocó solamente 2, o una. Well, I'm going to try in English. Usually collage, the son del collage, it's a dance with one male in the center of the tarima or the platform and 4 women, one on each corner. But this one is we're limited, and I don't think we have 4 girl dancers, so we're just one on one. The next one is going to be Guacamaya, and this is also all girls dance. So if Catherine will want to dance or join us, or anyone who feels like they want to do some dancing, go ahead. So todos bienvenidos a Zapatear.
guess what that song's about? Anybody? Even if you don't, it could be about a what? A bird. It's about the guacamaya.
Guacamaya is the macaw.
It's a macabre, very colorful, beautiful, and I think there's always less and less of them, unfortunately, but they are beautiful.
Okay, so we're going to have one more song, and then we're going to try something a little interesting. We're going to try an even bigger mashup with some Irish musicians. No, yeah, no? Okay, actually, we're going to start getting the Irish musicians up now. So, Mark, I'm going to ask for your help moving mics, please. Mark Burke. Okay, and joining us, we have Darcy Newman and her friends. A few more words about them a little later. But I just wanted to share that, my experience when I moved to Mexico, and I was invited to these fandangos jarochos, this is just like an Irish session. You're not in the kitchen, you're in an outdoor space because the weather's a little better, but, people standing, sitting in a circle, playing music, dancing on a wooden platform. I think in Ireland you dance on a door, right? And the children are there, the grandparents are there, it's intergenerational, there's food, there's storytelling, there's music, there's craft, there's poetry. The Fandango Jarocho to me was like, this is just like an Irish session. Like a kitchen session, really, right in the heart of the home. And I've talked to many people, Mexicans who live in Ireland and Irish who live in Mexico, and people like me who've traveled between the two, and who've all remarked it's just so seamless going from one culture to the other. People from one country feel right at home in the other, and we talked about some of the reasons, the religion and the ritual, but there's so many, and I feel like we're discovering new ones all the time. So that's what we're here really to celebrate today, of course, and that really does honor, I think, the San Patricios legacy, because it was about that mutual understanding and shared values. So again, we're really, really happy to be here today. We're happy you're all here. You've stuck with us the whole afternoon. And so we're setting something up a little different. Mark, can we have the writing back? Can we have the three musicians write? So again, this is Darcy Newman. And friends, Hector Guardado and Ted Colt. Also known as Buncrana, I believe is the name of their band. And Darcy herself has a very special Irish-Mexican musical connection too. I first met her in 2012 at the Fairfax Irish Music Festival. She was already, of course, a very well-known Irish fiddler in the Bay Area and has been for many years, but I told people, oh, I'm back from Dublin. I was playing mariachi over in Dublin, and everyone said, do you know Darcy? And it turns out Darcy, in addition to playing Irish music, she was performing with Mariachi Femenil Orgullo Mexicano, an all-female mariachi here in the Bay Area. And I was like, that sounds interesting, I'm going to check that out. And I ended up joining the band too, so for a time Darcy and I were compañeras playing mariachi music together. And in 2016, we went down to Mexico and did a little tour of the state of Morelos, Mexico City, and Guadalajara. And Darcy was giving fiddle workshops to Mexican violinists and performing for Irish dance shows on stage in Guadalajara, and just really, really doing the cross-cultural thing there. She's very, very talented, and also Greek music, and I don't know however many other kinds of music you play, and she just got back from Spain. Hector is from the Basque Country, who I think also have a strong solidarity with Ireland and Mexico. And Ted is from Marin, am I right? Yeah, I think so. Ooh, Marin. So what we're going to try to do to sort of close out the cultural programming today is we're going to try a little mashup Irish-Mexican piece with the Irish musicians here and with the Mexican musicians who you've just been listening to for the last half hour or so. Irish and Mexican music. Thanks to all the performers today. So excited to have Darcy and Eckler and Ted here. We're going to close out our cultural programming with some great Irish tunes from them. And in an hour, we're going to have a special visit from the Honorable Consuls General of Ireland and Mexico. So please stick around for a visit from them and special remarks from them. A reminder, the library is closing at 4, and the special live stream Zoom talk by Mark Day, who of course has been evoked throughout the afternoon today. We're really looking forward to it. It's going to be at 5 p.m. in the St. Francis room indoors. Masks are required. Vaccination proof is not. There's a little confusion there. You don't have to be vaccinated, but wearing masks at all times. So we hope you can stay and join us at 5. Until then, enjoy the craft. Bars open, taco trucks open. Thank you for being here.
Hello? Oh, it's working. All right, we're so excited to be here. We're going to start out with a couple reels. Thank you. I forgot to mention, if anybody feels like getting up and dancing, please. We would really appreciate it.
culture.
down. We're going to play something like a waltz. Right, grab a partner for a waltz. very clean. Written by Turlock of Carolina in 1700 something.
Alright, I gotta get used to this after this. This is a whiskey meetup.
is a member of the band who wrote Chicano Festival service. They became the Chicanissimo.
All right, we're ready to get started again. We're gonna open with a few hornpipes. All right, it's been such a pleasure playing for all of you here. We're gonna finish with a set of reels. Please get up and put on your dancing shoes. There we go. Thank you so much. Thank you. Okay, didn't know what they are, but they are Darcy, Ted, and Ecuador. Give it up and go down. We are so lucky to have such fabulous Irish musicians here in the Bay Area. And especially ones like Darcy, who travel around Mexico giving fiddle lessons to Mexican violinists, which is really cool. Okay, thanks to everybody for hanging in there this whole long day. We're so glad you're still here. We're so glad you're still having the tacos and the beer. And we're just about ready to close this portion of the day, our outdoor portion of the event here at Rowena Gates. So that was our cultural programming, and now we have a really, really special treat. We have the presence of the Honorable Consuls General of both the Mexican and Irish consulates here in San Francisco. Is this the first event you've done together?
Yes.
In person, for sure. Possibly even virtually. And we're really, really lucky to have them. Again, today we're honoring the ideals and the values of the San Patricios and everything they sacrificed for what they believed in, and above all, the simpatico, the connection they felt as Irish and Mexican people. After this, we will, those who are able to stick around, will go into the St. Francis room inside the center, down the stairs on your right, for a wonderful talk by Mark Day over Zoom. We've got him up on a big screen down there. So without further ado, I will welcome the Consul General of Mexico, Remedios Gomez.
Thank you, Catherine. Buenas tardes. Good afternoon, everyone. How are you feeling? Muy bien. Well, I'm thrilled to be able to be here with you. I want to thank my colleague, the Consul General Robert O'Driscoll from Ireland, for inviting me to be here. But I also want to recognize and appreciate the organizers of this event, the United Irish Cultural Center, and the San Francisco Irish Mexican Association. I think it's great that you do and that you allow us to celebrate this St. Patrick's Battalion. Well, as you may imagine, the members of the St. Patrick Battalion are considered heroes in Mexico, and as such, there's a plaque honoring them in the southern part of Mexico City, that's in the Plaza San Jacinto. Who has been over there? Okay, that's good. Well, more of you should go. More of you should go and see not only the plaque, but also, the surroundings. But of course, that they are considered heroes. But the relationship between Ireland and Mexico and the Irish and Mexican communities, it's longer than that. Just starting in the colonial period of Mexico, there were many people of Irish descent going into what was the Viceroyalty of New Spain, then under the rule of Spain. And among those people of Irish descent, there was one that many people don't know, but actually the remains of this person are in the column of the Mexican independence in Mexico City. And this person is Guillén de Lampert, who 2 centuries before the beginning of the independence of Mexico, he thought that it was good to initiate the separation of New Spain and Spain. And mainly he wanted to free the African slaves and the Indians that were under the domination of the Spaniards. But then he was discovered and he was sentenced to death. But he was of Irish descent, and his remains are there in the column of the Mexican independence in Mexico City. After that attempt, well, actually, there was someone of Irish descent, the Viceroy Juan O'Donoghue, who was the last Viceroy who arrived to now Mexico, and when he realized that after 11 years of the fight for independence, it was really necessary to stop that war. I mean, he agreed on stopping that, and that allowed to the beginning of the independence of Mexico. And this year we are celebrating the bicentennial of the beginning of Mexican independence, because the war started in 1810, lasted 11 years, and it lasted till September 27, 1821. So this year we're celebrating the bicentennial of the independence. But, thank you. After that, of course, when Mexico was already independent, they were asking for people to come and colonize the northern territories. That included California, Texas, New Mexico, and Arizona. And many people, they were favored by the Mexican government, Irish people, because of the Catholic religion that we share together. So that's why many Irish, people of Irish descent, coming from the United States, arrived to Texas, to California, and also to the northern states of the current Mexico. After that, well, we know about the St. Patrick's Battalion that took side with Mexico in solidarity with our nation. And currently, I mean, in more recent years, we have many famous people of Irish descent in Mexico that have been very important persons in politics, in cultural art, and the society and the economy. For example, few people know that President Álvaro Obregón, he had Irish descent, and he was a powerful president in Mexico. We've also had someone very famous like the painter, the surrealist painter Leonora Carrington, who was of Irish descent. Powerful entrepreneurs in the media in Mexico like O'Farrill was also of Irish descent, and a very famous writer, Edmundo O'Gorman, he's also of Irish descent. So many people have been contributing to Mexico in politics, in the cultural arts area. So we thank all the Irish roots that we also have in Mexico. And of course, there are different issues that keep us linking us together. It's not only the both basically of Catholic religion, but also we are both Ireland and Mexico. We have as neighbors powerful countries. Ireland has the United Kingdom, and we have the United States as our neighbor. We also have similar colors in our flags. In Ireland and Mexico, we have the green, the white, and the red. And Ireland has the green, the white, and the orange. But then they look similar. And of course, we have the coat of arms in the middle, but similar colors. Then we also used to have large families, both cultures, and we enjoy parties. We both produce beers. And of course, we like to keep our traditions. We keep, as we just listened, our folkloric music and folkloric dances. So there are many bonds that bring Irish and Mexican people together. I celebrate that we have this opportunity. I would love to keep on doing this every year. And thank you again for inviting me. And let's work together to strengthen the bonds that bring us closer. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Consul Gomez. Now we're going to welcome Consul General of Ireland, Robert O'Driscoll.
Good. Well, I enjoyed that. Whoever gave this scream, I'm going to get your check at the end of the event. Jorge, friends, buenas tardes a todos y muchas gracias a nuestros artistas y oradores maravillosos. I'm delighted to be here today to celebrate such an incredible cultural celebration between Ireland and Mexico. And it's the first time I've ever done an event where I've shouted in 3 different languages, and I'm very happy to do so. To begin, I want to return the favour and welcome the Consul General of Mexico, Patricios Gomez, here in San Francisco. We're so honoured by your presence today, and I'm deeply grateful that you've given the time on your Sunday afternoon to be here. But where else would you be in San Francisco on a Sunday afternoon than here at this magnificent celebration? I also want to thank the Anne Cassidy crew, who's double, triple jobbing. I'm not sure how many jobs you do at the moment, Anne. And all the team here at the United Irish Cultural Centre for hosting the event today and providing such leadership for the event. As we all know, the United Irish Cultural Centre is at a pivotal moment in its history. It has ambitious plans led by Liam Reedy Horanshaw to redevelop this site. And as we consider what that future for the centre looks like, I think events such as these, events which bring together the big Irish community with the big, with some of the other big communities across this city, and celebrate the multiplicity of connections between our communities. I think that's going to be the future of the centre, and it's why it's going to be such a success. And we wish them every success as they continue on that journey. I also want to thank Catherine John and Patrick Goggins. I think I saw Pat here somewhere. Is he here? There he is. And of course, and the San Francisco Irish Mexican Association for holding this event today. I think anyone who has come in contact with Catherine will know the incredible passion that she brings for celebrating Irish and Mexican culture. I have to do our inspirations for that. This event, which I think focuses as on a point of intersection between Irish and Mexican peoples, which brings together Irish and Mexican cultural activities, amazing, and Irish and Mexican food, and of course Irish and Mexican beverages, is an important opportunity for cultural exchange, and it is also an opportunity for the community of both the Irish and Mexicans here and those who claim Irish and Mexican heritage to celebrate the historical connections between our 2 peoples. Finally, I want to say a huge good mina mahagav. Thank you to the dancers, to the musicians and the workers here today who made this event possible. You guys have all brought such richness to today's celebration. I think it has to be recognised. Today we remember the Battalion de los San Patricios, or the St. Patrick's Battalion. A battalion comprised mostly of Irish, but also has to be said Scottish and German, almost all Catholic soldiers who decided over the course of the Mexican-American War they would change sides over the course of that war and concluded the battle fighting alongside the Mexican, as part of the Mexican army. The battalion was led by Galway native John Riley, and they became an elite artillery unit numbering about 200 over the course of the war. They are particularly remembered for their last stand, a heroic last stand at the Battle of Churubusco, one of the last acts of that war. And after the war, many of the battalion members were captured, branded with a D for deserter, whipped, and ultimately killed for defecting and switching sides. Look, Ireland and Mexico have a shared history of powerful neighbours. The Consul General just mentioned it. And what was quite clear was that when they made their decision, they were drawing on that understanding, an empathetic sense of how important it was for peoples to be independent and for self-determination. These values, along with their shared Catholic lineage, drove the San Patricios, all the members, to make that change. And we remember that here today. Since first hearing of their story about 4 years ago, it isn't a story that's well known in Ireland. I've taken the opportunity to discuss the San Patricios with many Mexican people and those of Mexican descent. I've been struck at the degree to which their story is well known and with the high regard in which they are held by the Mexican people. They are remembered annually in Mexico and have been honoured by the government of Mexico. They've also been remembered by the government of Ireland and are part of an exhibition series on the Irish in Latin America, which we published in 2017. I really hope to be able to bring that exhibition here to the centre when we get a chance to do so, and to do a whole programme of events around it, because I think it's a really important and under-known story. Irish and Mexican people have also a shared appreciation of reclaiming an independent and distinctive cultural identity, and how vital that identity is to our happiness and to the success of our people. As we've seen from the impressive cultural and artistic displays today, we each have unique ways of celebrating our culture. Yet the spirit of the Irish and Mexican cultures are quite similar in our ability to find joy in our culture and to be proud of it and to share it with others. I was struck as the Consul General mentioned of the sheer number of Irish people who went to Mexico and contributed to cultural life there. Eduardo O'Gorman, who you already mentioned, Juan O'Gorman, the architect and muralist also. And there really is a whole host of very rich cultural ties between our two countries. The welcoming nature of our two countries has been a solid foundation in our continued friendship and has inspired valuable partnerships in academics, our trading relationship, which is growing stronger all the time. We have a renewed economic focus on Mexico, and of course our shared sense of our historic and cultural ties. For over 40 years, we've had excellent diplomatic relations, and it's fair to say that our current president, who visited here in 2015, has a particular fondness and respect for Mexico and a love for all things Mexican. As we're only a few days away from the halfway to St. Patrick's Day market, and I see the small little postcards there on the tables. This celebration reminds us of the importance of Ireland's global connections, our important diasporic connections, and also reminds us that Ireland is an inclusive and diverse nation, even overseas, as we celebrate those links. We look forward to continuing the relationship with Mexico and with Ireland, and of course to doing more events where we can bring together our special communities here in the Bay Area. Gracias, and have a great day. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Augusto. We're so lucky to have both of your presence today. We're honored. Thank you for being here. We'd like to direct everyone to please accompany us to the St. Francis room, or if you'd like to stay, Wawona Gates is open until 6 p.m. today. So thank you and have a wonderful evening. Okay, so Pat is going to present an Irish-Mexican Association button to each of the councils.
Oh, fantastic.
San Patricio.
Oh, thank you.
Patricia. Patricio.
Want to do a quick picture? Want to do a quick picture up there, maybe? Okay. We have everybody maybe go up on the stage. Yeah. Just while we're all here, get good lighting.
I'm going to stay for this. I would like to. I read all the books that you
I'm not sure that's right. I'm just going to take one of them with you. Yeah. You want to just hop on the stage really quick, get a quick picture?
I'm a former Franciscan priest, ordained in '65. 2 years later, I volunteered as a chaplain and organizer with the United Farm Workers Union at Delano, California, thanks to my boss, the great Alan McCoy. I first learned about the San Patricios from Cesar Chavez. I don't know if you have that photo you can insert of Caesar. Do you have those photos lined up? Anyway, he had a close affinity with Irish American priests because they were a base for his support for his union. And he also often spoke about the San Patricios in our organizing sessions. Years later, after I left the Friars, I worked as a freelance writer in Peru. And at that point, when I came home, a friend told me about the book, The Shamrock and Sword by Robert Ryle Miller. I did meet him. He agreed to be an advisor on the documentary. And also my good friend, Peter Stevens, who wrote the book, The Rogue's March, John Riley and the San Patricios, two very important books. I found reactions to the San Patricios story fascinating in America, in Ireland, and in Mexico, all different viewpoints. Obviously, many Americans, especially those in the military, have a problem with people who desert an army in the times of war. That's understandable. The Irish, however, they felt they were asked to do, saw a group of immigrants who were asked to do what they felt what Oliver Cromwell and his successors did to them centuries earlier. The battle cry was to the Irish Catholics, to hell or Connaught. You've all heard that, right? Many of the San Patricios soldiers were from Connaught, the rocky soil and kind of inhabitable region in the west of Ireland. So what do we know about Captain John Riley of Clifton, Galway, and the soldiers under his command? I need not talk at length about the Great Hunger. You all know about the death of 1 million Irish and the emigration of another 2 million. My sister Kitty did extensive research on our family. It turns out that my great-great-grandfather was from, at that time, Kings County, which is now, I hope I pronounce it correctly, Offaly or Foley County. He and his family took a famine ship to Grosse Isle from Ireland. And we believe, based on my sister's research, that 2 of his children died on that ship. He then moved his family to St. Louis, and then my grandfather came to California, where he became a cable car conductor and a very strong union man. Initially, Irish immigrants were not accepted in this country, and they were regarded as Protestants as the advance guard of papal aggression. It was not until they shed blood in the Civil War and nobody could accuse them of not fitting in here. As a matter of fact, I forget the name of the New York Times guy. I wrote a book recently that the Battle of Antietam, General McClellan was on his horse, and all these Irish were retreating. What was left of the fighting 69th, they were decimated. And he said, "Where is your unit? Where are they?" He said, "We are the unit, General McClellan." So that is the precise moment, I believe, when the Irish, nobody could say the Irish were not fully American. They shed their blood in great amount in that battle. Fast forward to the Rio Grande Valley and General Zachary Taylor's invasion of Mexico, prodded on by President Polk. It is clear that the Irish soldiers hated the Protestant officers who brutally abused them and despised their Catholicism. So early on, several Irish soldiers migrated to the Mexican army, encouraged by General Amputia's of the Mexican army, General Amputia's leaflets, urging his fellow Catholics to defend Mexico. Meanwhile, the Texas Rangers, the notorious Texas Rangers, and other groups vandalized churches and convents. As a result, the San Patricios fought in all the major battles of the war, from Monterrey and Saltillo in the north to Veracruz in the Gulf of Mexico, and the final battle at the Churubusco convent in Mexico City, where the remaining San Patricios were arrested, tried, and sentenced to death by hanging. The hangings took place just below the towering Chapultepec Castle, and when it fell into the hands of the U.S. Army. Unfortunately, many writers, including Robert Ryle Miller, focus only on the court-martial records to get their information, instead of the unjust nature of the invasion of Mexico sovereignty and the brutalizing of its population. In other words, history, it's my belief, history needs to be taught and made from the ground up, not from the top down. That's the problem we have constantly. That's why it's a struggle with this critical thinking thing that's going on right now, because a lot of parents want to shield their children from the truth, whether it's the genocide against the Indians, whether it's slavery, or whether it's the invasion and conquest of half of Mexico. Nobody really knew what happened to John Riley after the, well, now I was going to say, nobody in Mexico really knew about the San Patricios until Patricia Bustamante Cox wrote her novel about it in the 1950s. Now, not too many people knew what happened to John Riley after the war. According to Miller, he traveled to Veracruz hoping to take a ship back to Ireland. But Miller contacted the Mormons who keep all these records, and they found out that that Riley died in Veracruz, maybe of lead poisoning, who knows? And he was buried in a cemetery that's now a baseball field. Miller's scholarship paid off. Robert Ryle Miller was a great scholar. So the lads of the San Patricio Battalion are getting credit now that they deserve. My hope is that this story will gain traction. Our country needs to hear it. We need healing right now, and this story can help that process. One final comment. There's a movement on right now to create a mural at Chicano Park in San Diego of the San Patricios. I hope we can all get behind this. This park was created by the people, and many of its murals tell of their struggles. Hopefully the San Patricio story will be one more example of that. Please keep in touch with Catherine and others for more details on this project. Thanks very much. I guess we can open it up to some questions.
Hey, thank you, Mark. And thanks for being available for some Q&A. What a treat. I don't think we knew we were expecting that. So yes, are there any questions or comments?
If I may, I had read that John O'Reilly came back to the United States after the war between Mexico and the United States. Something that I thought it was like difficult to believe. So now I'm learning from what you're saying that he went from Mexico City to Veracruz, and that's where he died.
Yes, yes. Because the Mormons keep good records of this, and Miller tried for years and years to find out. And of course, the movie, the fictionalized movie, has him falling in love with a beautiful Mexican woman, and blah blah blah. But that's all mythology, and I've never heard anything about him coming to the United States. I think that he met his end in Veracruz, and who knows? I mean, you know, the war was horrible. He may have had lead poisoning or anything else, any kind of sickness. But anyway, that was an important revelation.
Thank you. I have heard that he ended up getting his Mexican citizenship. Do we have proof of that? Is that apocryphal? As a possible outcome for what happened to him after the war. He got his Mexican citizenship and was maybe had some land in Mexico.
Who, John Riley?
Yeah.
There's never anything in the historical record about that. And also, you know, there's so much pride in Mexico about the Irish that there are many people who say that they're descendants of the San Patricios, but it's very difficult to prove, you know, but there are many Irish. As a matter of fact, in northern Mexico, there's a lot of people with red hair, Los Colorados, they call them. And so, like I say, there's a great tradition, but it's hard to, for any historian has to tie the facts down, get the facts. And that's very difficult because, you know, even though this only happened, a couple hundred years ago, you know, the churches were all burned down and there were no records, and we have very little commentary on the part of the soldiers themselves, except John Riley, that great letter that he wrote. I don't know how many of you have seen the documentary, but he wrote a letter to a friend in Michigan and saying, in all my years, you know, I always wanted the flag of Ireland. You know, I wanted to fly the flag of Ireland over our country, independent country. And he was a Fenian. You know, he was a Fenian. He was a hard fighter. Now, how many of the others were? I don't know. I mean, I'm open to the fact that many of them maybe were wanted land. They wanted to settle down, and the attraction of the Mexican government was attractive to them. Some of them were confused, but this whole idea of the court-martial testimony is very flawed, because a lot of the defendants said, well, I got drunk and I didn't know what I was doing, and so, but to fantasize that you leave an army because you're drunk and join another army, it just doesn't make sense at all. There has to be other motivation. So this is the search. I have no concrete answers, and I know that there's a lot of ambiguity here, but in my opinion, these guys did the right thing.
Yes. Can you tell us a bit more detail about what is in the works for Chicano Park, including
Oh, yeah.
potentially the SF?
Fortunately, my wife's cousin is in charge of the museum there, and a lot to do with how they vet these. As a matter of fact, I mean, I could send you. There's a lot of pictures. There's books on this. There's stuff that goes back to, I mean, Cesar Chavez, Zapata, the conquest. The whole park has that kind of theme, and but it's the people's park, and the people make the decisions because they tried to shut it down. They actually sent the highway patrol out there. There was a big battle, and the people won. The people won that ability to have the park for themselves. So if you've never been there, go there. And I can send all kind of pictures, Catherine. I can send all kind. I have a whole book on it. So if you want to see what it other people want to see what it looks like. But I have two artists. My friend Ricardo Duffy, by the way, a nice Irish Mexican name, Ricardo Duffy. He's one of the artists, and there's another artist that he knows. I'm hoping that they could put a paradigm together, a model together, to be able to show to people, say, this is what we want to do. This is how much it's going to cost.
I think that would be great, and I think that's something that our community here in San Francisco is interested both in supporting and following the progress with that, and also looking at a model for what we can do here, which is has a rich muralist history here in San Francisco, and or even something like the new Irish Center, which will be built in the next few years, and potential for some cross-cultural art. Just some ideas. But I think, and so several people have asked me today, are there other Irish Mexican associations in California or in the US? And I know of some projects and initiatives, I think mostly in the Southwest, New Mexico, Chicago, but I think that is potentially the future of the kind of collaboration that we can be working with going forward is to strengthen these Irish Mexican movement throughout the US. Yes, Robert.
Yeah, I mean, just to say, in San Diego, the Friendly Sons of St. Patrick, which is a fraternal organization in San Diego, they actually have quite an interest in the San Patricios, and actually at their last annual dinner before the world changed a little bit, they recognized the presentation on the San Patricios as part of that. So I think if you're in San Diego and that's something you want to focus on, I mean, I'd be very happy to link you all in with those people. And I know our honorary consul in San Diego is also very interested in this. One of the things that I mentioned is, I think it's a really important point, is there's a long history of Irish, typically men, but also women, traveling to Latin America, not just to Mexico, but across the continent. And I mean, the idea was they would learn the skills, the fighting skills, to bring back to Ireland and strike for independence back in Ireland. And if you look at our exhibition series, I'm sure if we did this exhibition, what I want to bring here, there is a whole host of Irish people, those of Irish descent, who made that journey. The intention always was to get the skills to go home to free Ireland. But they were so warmly welcomed, they became such an integral part of those societies. Very few of them actually managed to get home. So what I've always been struck by is the degree to which Irish independence is something that at a very early stage is recognized by a lot of these countries, because that sense of an independent Ireland being a just and right thing is something which is kind of built up within the national psyches of those countries as well. So, and no more so, of course, than Mexico. So I think it's important to recognize that. I think the San Patricios are a really important group in reflecting that sense of kinship around the importance of self-determination, independent culture, independent people. I just wanted to mention that.
Yeah, thank you for that insight. Did you hear that, Mark?
I'm sorry, it's my hearing and my speaker, but just summarize it briefly, Catherine.
Oh, okay, it's on me.
I'm sorry.
So, first of all, Robert, the Consul General of Ireland, mentioned a fraternal order in San Diego called the
Friendly Sons of St. Patrick.
Friendly Sons of St. Patrick.
Yes.
Potential to connect and support with your project, if you'd like that.
Yeah, if you have any contacts, I'd be happy to call them.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we'll hook that up. And then Robert went on to speak about the many Irish people who traveled throughout Mexico and Latin America to gain experience and insight and knowledge of independence fighting, and to take that back to Ireland. And sort of ironically, many of them never went back to Ireland because they felt so at home in Mexico and Latin America and just stayed there, and I'm sure married and loved the tacos. And but that it was I think obvious to many Irish that lessons of independence fighting would be found in Latin America. Yes, Guillermo.
Yeah, thank you, Stephanie. Yeah, I heard and read, I don't know, you could confirm that John Riley was buried in Veracruz, as you said, under the name of Juan Riley. That was the name who he was registered under the Mexican army.
He was buried.
Guillermo, Remedio's husband. I'm sorry if you have another title I'm not familiar with, but I know he was Remedio's husband.
Yes.
Said that from what he heard or knows is that John Riley was buried in Veracruz under the name Juan Rile.
Right, that's correct. That's correct.
Which was his name as.
Yeah, because the priest didn't was using a phonetic pronunciation. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I have a friend, actually a piper who's come to perform with the pipe band here and is piped in this very center, named no, his name is Victor Serrano, but his maternal last name is Ojeda, and he was an Ofero, but they gave him Ojeda when they arrived.
Okay.
Yeah, Mark, can you tell us a bit about the picture you shared with us of Michael D. Higgins out in front of the San Jacinto monument?
Would you repeat that?
One of the photos that you shared with us is with Michael D. Higgins and I'm not sure which Mexican official standing.
Oh yeah. That was the I guess it was 1996. That's when the big celebration took place, and President Cedillo was the president. And oh my God, that we had they didn't want to tell anybody where the celebration was. We were able to get there, and we had a big gathering at Patricia Bustamante Cox's home, or her daughter's home, in Mexico City, and Michael Higgins was there. He was delightful. We had a delegation from San Francisco, from Los Angeles. It was a wonderful occasion, to touch base and to meet him,
Pat Goggins just shared with us that he was there too. So you and he.
Pat Goggins was there. Oh yeah, Pat. I was wondering about Pat with this whole thing today. I mean, Pat has been the mainstay.
He was with us for the full event. He just had to leave before your talk, but he shared with us earlier. Very glad to have him.
And the Mexican official is Jose Antonio Meade, who also has Irish roots.
He's from Limerick. They're from Limerick, yeah. I actually organized a visit for him to Ireland in 2014, maybe. And he was due to meet. He was foreign minister.
He was foreign
minister. Yeah. And he came to Ireland, and we very warm welcome, because he's one of our own coming home.
So Mark, the Mexican official who I couldn't identify in this picture is Juan Antonio Meade.
Jose Antonio
Meade, who was Minister of Foreign Affairs at the time, and I assume you met him in person too. And Robert was just recounting that he received him on a visit to Ireland in 2014, because Meade is also of Irish origin, or Limerick.
Irish roots. Yes.
Irish roots, yeah.
So look at these connections we're making.
Yeah.
I'm here, I'm all about the music and the craft, you know me. But I've mentioned to Mark, and I'll mention to all of you, that in Tijuana, there is an Irish dance school. There are a number of Irish pubs. We at one point organized an Irish music session in a pub in Tijuana, and we're hoping to do more that the pandemic, didn't let happen. But Mark, you're our connection to San Diego, and we're here in San Francisco, and all that's between you and Tijuana is a big imposing border wall. But these borders are just in our minds. So I think that plans and potential for these wonderful collaborations are just waiting to happen. Yes, we have some comments from the back for questions, please.
Once this pandemic is cleared up, we can do a lot more stuff together.
Oh,
For South America, Peru.
Oh,
I'm
yes, yeah,
from Peru,
yeah.
but I want to know what year he was and what area. Thank you.
Okay, so Mark, we have an attendee here from Peru today, and she'd like to know where were you in Peru and when?
I was in Peru from 1985 to 1990. And I lived, of course, as a journalist, you have to be in Lima. But I did get around the country. I'm one of the few journalists, believe it or not, since they just captured, Abima Guzman of the Shining Path just died. I was one of the few journalists who spent time in the jungle with the Shining Path. It was a harrowing experience, but it was fascinating. So I've traveled all over the Huallaga Valley, Ayacucho, Costa Sierra y Selva. I love Peru. It's a wonderful country. And it's going through a horrible, horrible time right now with COVID, with a political turmoil that I've never seen before. I don't know how they're going to get out of this political turmoil they're in. But it's always been that way, and it's going to be that way for a while, I think, unfortunately.
The Irish consulate and Peruvian consulate have also worked together here in San Francisco. And a few years ago, some people here were in attendance. There was a wonderful event right here in the St. Francis room honoring the potato.
Yes.
One of the main common factors between Peru and Ireland. There was delicious food. I came with my Peruvian husband. I met my Peruvian husband here at the Irish Cultural Center in 2017 at the last Irish Mexican dinner. So these connections.
Yes. Oh, good for you.
Oh, what part of Peru are you from?
I'm actually born in Callao.
Callao.
It's the international port, which is Lima, and he said it's the capital. It's a beautiful country, but unfortunately, he said it's a turmoil at the moment. In 1985, I was still here. So. Because I came in 1975. So I didn't go through Fujimori era, nor Garcia, Fujimori and all that. The Shining God, I heard, but nothing. I'm involved here now. So.
And what is your name?
Gloria.
Gloria. Okay.
Gloria.
Doria.
No, Gloria.
Gloria. Okay. Mark, Gloria is sharing that she is from Callao.
Oh, yeah.
She's been here since 1975.
Yes.
Wow.
It was not present in Peru for the things that you were, but of course you
never went back. I never went back.
You never went back.
No.
Yeah.
It's dangerous to go back.
Yeah, unfortunately.
If I would like to go back to visit, it would be dangerous for me. So I'd rather stay here, unfortunately. But I'm glad I'm a citizen. I'm American.
We're glad you're with us.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So curious, who here has Mexican heritage or other Latin American heritage?
No, actually, I'm Asian too. I'm Japanese.
And Japanese. Wow.
Yeah. My mother is Spanish also. So I'm Japanese.
And who here has Irish heritage? Probably mostly everyone.
Yeah. And also, excuse me. Yeah. Last name is Miles.
Miles.
And
on the stone engraving on the front in Mexico City that they had the list for the names of Irish. I found my name on there, which I found very interesting.
Wow, like your exact name.
Last name Miles.
Last name Miles. So Gloria's husband is surnamed Miles, and Miles is one of the names on the San Patricio plaque in San Jacinto. Did you get that, Mark? Sorry.
How do you spell that? What is it?
M-I-L-E-S.
M-I-L-E-S, Miles.
Oh, I see. Okay. It doesn't ring a bell, but it's been many years since I researched all that.
Yeah, I got to visit the John Riley bust in 2016 with Darcy, who I keep mentioning because she was here playing fiddle. She and I did a little pilgrimage to all of the Irish Mexican spots around around Mexico City, and it's a very powerful place. It's a very beautiful place. It's I mean, like so many places and so much history, it's hard to imagine this was a place where people were flogged and whipped and hanged, tortured basically. But Mexico has never forgotten that legacy of the San Patricios, and that monument, has a very special place there. So if anyone here has a chance to go to Mexico City, I was just in Mexico City a few months ago. I found that actually it's kind of if you're vaccinated, it's a pretty good time between their total shutdown and Mexico City returning to its insane craziness. Like traffic's lighter and you can walk around. People are out doing things and places are open. So, I mean, it's a personal decision if you're going to travel or not. But I personally fell in love with Mexico City more than I ever have in my life, just this past time that I was there. Good. Now I have a trip to Ireland pending. Yes.
If I may note that we in the California independence movement, which I'm a bit of an outrider, we also regard the San Patricios most highly. When they were fighting the U.S. invaders, so were we. We won round one in the Battle of San Pascual, but then they just keep coming from multiple directions, unfortunately. And so this flag I bring was from our original independence movement of 1836. I invite you all to go celebrate with us in Monterrey, where it happened, on 4th November, about 3 p.m. We're going to be starting from the Presidio Museum and working our way down, hopefully, to the Customs House. Okay, some of the only buildings remaining of them. We draw great inspiration. The Irish freedom struggle, hopefully ours won't be as arduous. And, we are as close to Mexico as Scotland is to Ireland. Okay, two places that have a great deal in common. Although we were colonized separately, we have the same, tragic history from that period. Our indigenous people have never forgotten that they were serfs under the Spaniards and that there were attempts to return their land that originated with the same people that a year later struck out for independence. Okay, so we invite you to come celebrate with us. 4th November, circa 3 p.m., and we start at Presidio Hill.
What is your name?
Matt Owen.
Matt Owen.
Yeah, I'm out of Independence for Independence, one of the many. Yeah, one of the many organizations in our movement. It's a real movement. It stretches clear at the Baja with MIBC, Movimiento Independentista de Baja California. Okay.
Mark, did you get what Matt just shared?
I didn't quite get all that.
So Matt is with Independence California.
I'm from one of the organizations of the California independence movement, which is a large, diverse, and typically fractious movement. It's a real movement, and it also has people who return California who look at the opportunity that our independence would present to return approximately half. And this is just Alta California to the people from whom it was stolen. And we've been at this since the first book published in California, which I just donated to the museum in Monterrey, not the original, of course, but, Captura translation, called A Manifesto to the Mexican Republic by Governor Jose Figueroa, in which he's presenting both sides of a thing where some people wanted the mission land for themselves, and he says, no, wait a minute, that's not what we passed the secularization law. We passed it to return it to those from whom it had been stolen. So our Return California dates all the way back to that. So do many of the other working parts of our independence movement.
Thank you for that, Matt. And that's why I wanted to open today with a land acknowledgement of the Ohlone people, because just to remember,
yes.
Of course, this was Mexican land. Before that, it was New Spain. But before that, it was not any European powers. It was the native people up here. So it's very important that we remember that. And that too informs the ideals, I think, that we put into the work
we intend a plurinational Gran California.
Plurinational, I like that
We thought that Evo Morales, come up with something brilliant that had been happening in Palm Springs, the co-governance of authentic plurinational co-governance of Palm Springs and Cathedral City with the Agua Caliente Reservation. They actually have been doing it decades before the MAIS, began to promote it. And as with our star that many people have borrowed in the 20th century, we like to say, de nada. You're welcome.
Well, and anyone correct me if I'm wrong historically, but when we talked about how the Irish immigrants were, treated badly and discriminated against because of religion and nationality, I want to say that was generally talking about east of the Mississippi, Anglo-America, whereas California at the time that it was forming was kind of a different story, a different blend of people, and that oftentimes, the Californios here, Irish, who found their way to California during that time fit right in for the same reasons we've been talking about all day. So correct me if I'm saying something that's wrong or offensive or not correct.
No, they were Irish. There were people who would have been enslaved in the United States.
Right, but it wasn't the United States.
As far as relations with the indigenous, it's like throughout the Americas, it's all on the map, I mean, the general pattern of disenfranchisement and dispossession was in place, right? But, post independence, Mexican independence, there's all kinds of people, doing all kinds of things good and bad with the indigenous people, okay?
Well, I know I'm proud to be a Californian. I know that there's a lot there that's loaded, but I'm just glad because we're here today and we're commemorating, celebrating what we are. But I think we'll maybe try to wrap up now with Mark. I'm not sure, Mark, if you got that last bit, but we were talking about California independence. And is there any last words you'd like to share with us? Or are there any last comments for Mark? Can you hear me, Mark?
Well, I can hear you. Did you ask me something?
Oh yeah, I think we're gonna wrap it up. Have any last comments for the crowd here today?
No, it's a great privilege and an honor to be able to speak to find people that are interested, fascinated by this story and how it hooks in with what's happening today. I mean, it has to be one of the most relevant stories to relate to what's happening in our country today. So I'm proud to be a part of that, and let's see what we can keep the ball rolling. That's all I'm saying.
Great, I love that message. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Take care, everybody. We'll be in touch.
Thank you. Thanks for the consult.
All right.
And we'll do it again next year, I hope.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you, Mark.
Interesting.
Okay, thank you.
I'm Mark Burke from the board. Thank you for all for coming, and thank you to the Consul Generals. Thank you very much for coming. I was going to point out we are this building will be a polling location, democracy, starting Tuesday going forward. So we've worked it out with the city. So this very room they'll be voting, and not just Tuesday, but going forward, we've committed to become a polling place, get the community into the building. But this that's all part of the democracy and things like that. So, but thank you very much for everybody for coming. Okay, thank you.